WVW Broadcast Network is pleased to present the Ivan Raiklin Report with retired Lieutenant Colonel of the Green Beret, Ivan Raiklin. Ivan served 25 years in the Department of Defense, Intel and Special Operations Communities, and DTRA as an enlisted officer, civilian contractor on active duty, reserves, and National Guard across 5 states. Most recently, he was an instructor at the Joint Military Intelligence Training Center, teaching the U.S. intelligence intel community and international partners about intelligence analysis, national security, and multinational operations. And now, here is your host, Ivan Raiklin.
All right, guys. It's been a while since I've been live on the Raiklin Report. It's because last week was a big travel week. Let's give a big update. I think today's going to be an administrative day, giving an update on what I've done over the last week. And then earlier this week, what you've actually viewed, a little bit of commentary and what's coming up the remaining part of the week. So let's start off with last week. I went to Austin, Texas. We went to the, I'll try to remember all the names here, American Liberty Awards. And the big takeaway there is the movie Died Suddenly received the Most Truthful Movie Award. And having said that, it looks like Florida, at a minimum, Brevard County and Florida maybe in general, as well as other states, are going to be, at least at the state GOP level and the county levels, are going to be moving to ban mRNA clot shot DNA mutilation injections, right? So that's good. So Stu Peters was recognized for that, for his movie Died Suddenly. Also of note is Laura Loomer was the recipient of the Best Investigative Journalist Award. Now, I was nominated for, I think they called it the Legal Bulldog Award, but there's just too many phenomenal patriotic attorneys that were nominated. I would have been absolutely shocked had I won that, and obviously I didn't. So I think it was Tom Renz actually secured that nomination and the win. So congratulations to Tom Renz. Then I proceeded to Indianapolis, where I confronted Robin Vos, Speaker of the House of Wisconsin, also the president of National Conference of State Legislatures. Spent a couple of days there to essentially take a look at what they're up to over at the establishment Rhino Uniparty, and basically Uniparty established order, what they're trying to push within the state legislatures. Had an opportunity, like I said, to confront and interact with Speaker of the House Robin Vos of Wisconsin. For details of that, you can go ahead and go to do a search on Rumble for my last name. I think Hot Government posted up a video. I also gave an update on several interviews that I did. I believe it was Pete Santilli. I did an interview. I'm not sure if that's posted yet, at the Election Crime Bureau Summit, which was the next event that I went to. So I gave an update on Election Crime Bureau at that event that Mike Lindell was hosting. I was on Pete Santilli. Also had an opportunity to be once again with Sharona Bishop, who's America's Mom. If you missed that, you can go ahead and take a look. Definitely a great update to our last interview that we did last year. That one made its rounds significantly after I reposted it a couple of weeks ago on my own Rumble channel. For those that aren't following and channel, it is just last name Raiklin. I'm on Telegram, X, Getter Locals, Rumble, QUX, Cloud Hub, Truth, Gab, and Substack. Let's see where else. I also had a nice interview with Conservative Daily. Apollo was there in person, along with Joe Altman of Conservative Daily. Apollo was the one that interviewed me. And the big takeaway there that we were trying to push is to get the Trump and RFK camp to go ahead and participate in fireside chats, along with some of the super hosts that would draw big crowds at the same exact time that the RNC B-list, or I should say Z-list events were going to be hosted on Faux News. So tonight is going to be the first one, where you have Tucker Carlson on Twitter and Truth is going to be engaging with the, what should we call it? The presumptive president-elect. It's not just presumptive nominee for the Republican Party. The presumptive president-elect, Donald Trump, is going to be doing an interview on Tucker Carlson tonight. I might just actually do a little commentary live streaming if I can figure out how to set that up. But I might just do that. We'll see. Actually, you know what? No, I think we'll wait for another date because I think it's probably more appropriate just to focus your attention on consuming the content, and then we'll do the post-game analysis tomorrow. Let's see. So those were the big events. Like I said, Missouri at the Election Crime Bureau Summit, Mike Lindell hosted. He hosted his plan. They went and did a 50-state breakdown of who's doing what, who's essentially had some wins throughout the states. So that was a good discussion, a good time to see a lot of different patriots. But more importantly, we were able to, I think, convince at a minimum the Trump camp and Tucker, essentially last minute on Thursday into Friday, to go ahead and essentially bankrupt the mainstream, lamestream media so that no one watches them. And tonight you're going to definitely not going to watch them. You're going to watch Tucker and Trump. Hopefully in the future, over the next few debates, while they're doing the Z-list debates, the A-listers are going to be conversing, whether it's hosted by, let's see here, Steve Bannon or Mike Lindell or Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan, or maybe subsequently Elon Musk. I think it would be appropriate for those hosts or the super hosts to have the two A-list candidates for president to be having a national conversation as private citizens. And I'm referring to, again, Trump and RFK Jr., so that they can address certain issues that we all know what they're going to talk about. But it's also good to have everybody sitting in the same room so that most people that aren't paying attention to politics can actually join in and participate. Okay, so I think that covers what we did last week. Now let's take a look. I have the calendar over here to my left. Taking a look at it. I have an analog calendar just like I do digital calendars, just as backup. And it looks as though big things coming up this week are Reawaken Las Vegas. So for those that aren't aware, or for those that are going, I'm still debating on whether or not I'll be attending. I'm kind of leaning towards no, because number one, I'm not going to be speaking at Reawaken. I was invited to be participating in a press conference to give an update on my investigation into J6. It's just that I spent all of last week traveling, and I'm trying to play catch up, because when I travel and I go to other places, it slows me down from being able to investigate sources in the Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia metro area to specifically go into more detail and do a deep dive into the specifics of things that I haven't gone into yet as it relates to the Fed's direction on January 6th and other things of that nature. So if I don't make it, the following individuals are going to be doing a press conference, as far as I understand. Dr. Simone Gold, Mickey Whithoff, which is Ashley Babbitt's mother, Nicole Reffitt, also known as Miss Reffitt, in D.C. here by the lawless and illegitimate regime when they do see her in the courtroom. Let's see who else. Several other people are going to be there. What did I say? Dr. Simone Gold, Mickey Woodhoff, Nicole Reffitt, a few others. I'll have to take a look at my notes in order to remember. So their Gateway Pundit, like I said, is going to be organizing a press conference next Wednesday outside of the DC District Court. And I think they want me out there as well, again, to give an update on my investigation into January 6th. I think the key components are explaining to people of how they were weaponized against and who was behind that. And I think you're starting to see more and more based on the recent interview by Tucker Carlson of the former Capitol Police Chief, Chief Stephen's son, and then also the subsequent interviews recently of Tarek Johnson by the Blaze Media, Glenn Beck, as well as some of the Twitter spaces that TK Johnson has conducted. I mean, essentially, all roads lead to the Capitol Police Board, and namely Yogananda Pittman, and then another name that really hasn't been mentioned. Well, let me name two names that have been mentioned and one name that has not. Yogananda Pittman, who is the former head of Intel and Interagency Coordination. Also, her deputy, Julie Farnham, is now finally, that name is being discussed more frequently, especially by TK Johnson. That woman needs a little bit more scrutiny than she has received up to this point. And then also, other than Yogananda Pittman, the person that was appointed by Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi to be the Capitol Police Chief after they put Yogananda Pittman back in her position as the Assistant Capitol Police Chief, J. Thomas Manger is the part of the cover-up crew. And the other person that's part of the significant most part of the cover-up crew, I argue, that has not faced sufficient scrutiny is the General Counsel of the United States Capitol Police. His name is Thomas DeBiase, D-I-B-I-A-S-E. So he goes by the nickname Tad. And his Twitter account is the Nobody Guy, because when he was at the U.S. Attorney's Office, yes, oddly enough, he used to be at the U.S. Attorney's Office before becoming the General Counsel at U.S. Capitol Police, U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., mind you. His claim to fame that he was the Nobody Guy, where he would secure convictions against individuals where there was a murder, but there was no body. That's his claim to fame. He's done some podcast interviews that I've reviewed in the past, at least one that I reviewed. So go ahead and take a look at him, and you'll start to see that he was heavily involved in signing off on putting the pieces together so that the former acting police chief and the current police chief, so former acting Yogananda Pittman, current police chief Thomas Manger, were signing off on the criminal referral documents along with the doctored evidence from the CCTV footage, along with the manipulated, curated criminal referral, coupled with impact statements done by U.S. Capitol Police, of which were probably coerced and fluffed up so that the conviction rate of J6 defendants would be 100%. In some instances, I'm sure they were 150%, just like the elections, right? Whether it's in Pennsylvania or other places throughout the country, where you had over 100% of registered voters voting. Well, in this instance, they're trying to get for 100% conviction rate amongst the J6 defendants. To recap, well, most people don't understand. If you're a J6 defendant, if you're an attorney for a J6 defendant, even if you are part of the prosecution, whether you're from the FBI, the Department of Justice, or the U.S. Attorney's Office, you can have the highest level of TDS, of Orange Man Bad Syndrome. I get it, because you do, right? Face it. The big thing here is that the CCTV footage that is owned by the U.S. Capitol Police, that appears to be footage that is impenetrable unless it is released and authorized to be released by the General Counsel Tad DeBiase of U.S. Capitol Police and the Chief of Capitol Police, Thomas Manger. Now, If that CCTV footage evidence shows that it was a Nancy Pelosi Fedsurrection, which I argue that it does, the only way we can get access to that is if Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer allow the chief of Capitol Police to release it. Question: do you think that they're really going to do that? All the things that have been done since January 6th, you really think that Nancy Pelosi was not involved in the Fedsurrection? Let me go down a couple of things, data points for you to think about. So the very first thing they say is Nancy Pelosi is off limits, right? Why is Nancy Pelosi off limits? If she's so transparent, for 2 years they had the Capitol shut down. They passed laws left and right illegally. No quorum. It was voice vote. No one was there available. They just started spending money, trillions of dollars, just marauding, pillaging, raping the taxpayer like you wouldn't believe, right? For 2 years. And then all of a sudden you think that they're going to follow the rule of law? You think they're not going to conduct a coup Fedsurrection? Well, guess what? They did. So if Nancy Pelosi is off limits, her daughter's off limits, her son-in-law is off limits, and they created this J6 cover-up committee to only target and weaponize those that are opponents of the Uniparty, to include the Bush-Cheney syndicate, right? Criminal syndicates, as well as the Biden criminal syndicate and the Pelosi criminal syndicate. Well, that's where we need to look. And so how do we look there? Well, currently you have a Speaker of the House that doesn't have a spine to do so. Now, even if this Speaker of the House had a spine, right? Let's just hide McCarthy, the most courageous person ever in the history of American politics, said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and release the footage. Maybe he'd be able to, but here's what he's up against. It's literally an internal battle between U.S. Capitol Police Chief, who is backed by Pelosi and Schumer, who appointed him in July 24th, I believe, of 2021. Also, the head of Intel and Interagency Coordination that conducted the coup, Yogi Pittman, on behalf of Pelosi. So they're all in this position where they don't want the evidence to be released of this Fedsurrection coup. And in a sense, Kevin McCarthy was somewhat in on it by not allowing for a quorum to take place on January 6th. So was Mikey Pence. So the 5 key leaders on January 6th, let me just go down the list. The lack of quorum was an action where multiple people violated the Constitution's 12th Amendment quorum requirement. Let's go down this list. Mikey Pence, I've already discussed that ad nauseum for years. Nancy Pelosi, same thing. Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, who's now totally comatose practically. Kevin McCarthy also. Who else? The 2 parliamentarians didn't say a single word that there was no quorum. In fact, the House parliamentarians said no. Morgan Griffith, you can't say a peep. We're going to whisper in Mikey Pence's ear so that he says that, no, we're not going to do a quorum. The Senate parliamentarian didn't say a word when that occurred, when there was no quorum in the joint session. The general counsel of the Speaker of the House, the general counsel, I would presume that the general counsel of the Senate Majority Leader was there also making those decisions. The counsel for McCarthy, the counsel for Schumer, who was Minority Leader on that day, the counsel for Pence, the sergeant at arms participated in a lack of quorum. The attending physician supposedly gave advice to Pelosi to go ahead and not have a quorum. All of those federal officers violated their oath to the Constitution and squarely in your face, live for the whole world to see on C-SPAN, violated the 12th Amendment. How, you ask? Let me say that for the trillionth time. if you're tuning in for the first time. There was no quorum on January 6th. And then afterwards, your beloved Mikey Pence was prancing around with his barrel-chested, freedom-fighting look. The old pious one was ordering around General Milley to go ahead and order the National Guard around after Pelosi said, all right, the Fedsurrection coup is complete. Mikey Pence, go ahead and violate the 25th Amendment. Act like you're the acting president, even though you didn't invoke the 25th Amendment removal of President Trump with the cabinet, and you didn't send over in writing to the speaker and the president pro tem that you did the 25th Amendment removal. Why don't you just go ahead and order General Milley around? Oh, wait, and General Milley, while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and accept those orders, even though you're not in the chain of command of a vice president? And why don't you have your Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, also just wing it. Just go ahead and wing it, right? Pelosi's been violating the Constitution for a couple of years. The DOJ has been violating our rights for a couple of decades, actually maybe even over 100 years. Whatever. Just go ahead and do it. Guess what? You keep doing that, folks, the FO part of FAFO is going to be coming around. Where's my little sign? You can't really see that. Let me bring it forward. Let's take a look at this. What does it say? FAFO. Oh, it's kind of timely, this little sign. It says, we do not consent. We will not comply. There is no consent to be given to illegal requests by an illegitimate and lawless executive branch. You want to go ahead and put a box of toilets on your face? Excuse me, face toilets. I almost misspoke. You want to put that box of face toilets on your face? You know what? I'm a gentle guy. Sharing is caring, right? You know those terms. If I see somebody at a venue or an institution that promulgates the usage of long asphyxiating face toilets, I'm going to think to myself, you know what? I'm a generous man. I am going to give the people that are wearing face toilets starting in mid-September, because that's what they're going to try to do, I'm going to offer up my face toilets. Well, I don't really have any. I'll have to purchase some for them to wear. That way, they are more protected. Everyone around me can be so much more protected by wearing 20 to 30, upwards of 100 face toilets. You know what? We're 1 trillion face toilets. I think you pronounce them face masks, so that you're totally protected. Remember, you're going to get your daily booster shots. You're going to get your hourly PCR nose rapes, right? And while you're at it, I am going to offer you all the face toilets that you desire. You're going to be so protected. That way, I want all resources to go your way, and though there will be none left for me to place on my pristine face so that I can breathe oxygen unimpeded. Whereas you are going to be so protected from whatever your fear is. You're going to be so protected when you put on your trillionth face toilet, you'll just, I don't know what'll happen to you. You may just stop breathing, and then you won't have to worry about the fear that whatever it is now, the CCP-23 that they're going to push into your brain. Please buy into it. Please spend your money. Go ahead and purchase these emergency use authorized, unsafe, and ineffective products. By all means. It's actually gotten better for me and my family's lifestyle over the last couple of years, because all the places that I go to now, whether it's to soccer, with soccer practice with the kids, swim practice, the people that bought into the whole emergency use authorized product mass consumption, right? Like narcotics fiends, guess what? I don't really see them because they're so scared to step out of their house. Please stay away from me. Go ahead and lock yourself up. Put 20 face toilets on. Go ahead and inject yourself. Go, alternate every 5 seconds to determine whether or not, 4 seconds ago, I just did my nose rape and I tested negative. Why don't you do that every second so that you're so busy, I don't have to deal with you. Just go away. Go ahead and consume all these emergency use authorized products maximally. Just never stop. Don't even go to sleep. Do your boosters. You know what? Why stop at daily boosters? Just do them every minute. Just keep injecting yourself maximum, right? Just nonstop. Keep injecting yourself until you get the massive clot shot effect that you want, right? Just go all in, right? Why stop at biannual boosters? Why don't you stop at every minute? Go ahead and boost yourself and see how long you can last. It ain't gonna happen over here. All right, you got me on my little rant there. So you want to go ahead and promote those illogical policies from the lawless and illegitimate executive branch? Because at this point, 3 years into the game, guess what? I guess you're unsalvageable at this point if you're buying into this nonsense. All right, so let me close out today. Let's see what else we got. We talked about that next week. Yeah, I think I might be on a couple shows later this week. A couple things I'm trying to make sure we're good on is trying to get on Emerald Robinson. Might be able to do that on Friday. Dr. Jane Ruby would like an update on Monday. I think that's still in the works. And I've also gotten an agreement with Greg Phillips, fantastic patriot, the guy from True the Vote, along with Catherine Engelbrecht. Greg Phillips agreed to have me on his show, Patriot Games. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity to go and do a deep dive discussion so we can compare notes. And then let's see, what else do we have? I think that's about it. Other than, now that I'm using this in the background, it's called StreamYard. I've put out some feelers on Telegram and all throughout the free speech social media that if you want to, now that I'm making my rounds, I'm speaking at different events. I'll be speaking at Reawaken in Miami and California, the next couple. If you want to go ahead and, for some reason, you have some sway with your local county GOP and you want to book me as a speaker at your next Lincoln Reagan dinner, please do so. I'm going to be making my rounds. I'm offering myself up to travel the country to help educate those that are now ready to consume the truthful information that we've been putting out for years that a lot of these people thought was, right, the tinfoil hat stuff. They're now starting to realize and get a sense that, yep, the same individuals that censored them into believing that the face toilets were magnificent, that the clot shots didn't quite cause too much DNA mutilation. Those same individuals that manipulated and censored their feeds on Facebook, Insta garbage, Twitter 1.0, etc. Those are the same folks over at the FBI and DOJ that defrauded the FISA court to spy on an American citizen, naval officer, former naval officer, in order to go after the guy and the guys that he was surrounded by to go ahead and take down the deep state. Yep, I'm talking about the same 5 FBI, DOJ people. Anyway, if you want to come and you want to invite me, please send an email to info@raiklin.com and we'll put it on the books. With that, Raiklin Report out.